Cara, welcome to the Retail Horror Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited. I just told you off camera that I love your line, that I've actually bought it for one of my clients when we were resetting her store. So it was really exciting to have your agent reach out to me to do this interview. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your brand?
Okay, great. My name's Cara Barde. I am the owner of Crow Canyon Home. I have owned the company since for about 11, almost 12 years now. Actually, it is a company that was started in 1977, and it has been around in America only for that long. And then about 12 years ago, we bought the business. When I say we, my husband and I bought the business. And we've been loving it. It's our first time in the gift world completely. I kind of caught the bug of entrepreneurship my father bought a small business in Florida, nothing to do with gift at all. It was in medical. And I ended up running that business and I sort of caught the bug. So when that business was sold, I was looking for something to do. And this came up for sale in California, in the Bay Area where I lived. And I just loved the product, but I felt like it really definitely needed some refreshing as far as the marketing and the branding. And so that's what we've been working on, and I've been loving it.
See, you were never in gift and you went from medical to gift. That's a big jump.
Right. So it's definitely something I am still learning every day. Like I also told you off camera that I was working at a trade show and I met other vendors. And that's actually why I love going to the shows, because I'm still learning every day about this industry. It still seems really new to me.
It's interesting that you came on board, you bought it, you came on board, and you instantly knew that it needed help and refreshing. How, coming out of a totally different industry, what were some of those telltale signs?
Yeah, it was actually one of the reasons we bought the business is because the previous owners, it was just a lifestyle business for them. And they put very, very little money and effort into the marketing side of things. So photography, websites, all that kind of thing. They didn't even really do many trade shows at all. And they worked kind of part-time. So, and also that's the marketing side. But honestly, they also were printing things out on a dot matrix printer in triplicate, sending it by courier to the warehouse. The warehouse was doing it all by hand. Wow. There was also a lot of sort of IT that the company needed. And so through my experience, even though my experience was not in gift before, the company that my father had purchased and I ended up running was the same, where it was it needed a lot of help and was able to, implement marketing and IT and all that kind of systems, people, all that sort of thing. And so I knew that I had experience in that. And we just saw that there was a lot of potential with this company. Honestly, there's no way anybody could look at the marketing and think it didn't need to be refreshed. It was very 1980s, very country. And honestly, we just did a little bit of photography and redid the website, and that alone really helped our sales. But I knew that the product had a lot of potential because when we were looking to buy the business, the previous owners had told me that this company called West Elm had just put in a full container order. Wow. And they were trying to explain to me who West Elm was. They were older than me. And so I knew, of course, who West Elm was. And so I knew that it was probably an on-trend product. And so that really sort of pushed me over, to buy the business.
So just so everyone knows, explain a little bit for those who don't know what Crow Canyon is. And also Golden Rabbit is part of the brand. Yes. Well, so talk a little bit about what the product is, as well as what the difference is of Golden Rabbit and Crow Canyon.
Sure. So both companies make enamelware, and enamelware is I think it's best known sort of the camping cup, where it's steel on the inside, metal on the inside, and porcelain on the outside. So it's very lightweight. It is shatterproof. It can go in the oven. Not all Enamelware can, but ours can all go into the oven. So we have trays and all of these things that can be used for oven to table. And it's really great for outside, for kids, and for everyday use. So we have the largest selection of Enamelware in the world. So we do everything from cups, plates, to pitchers, to bakeware, cookware, giant bowls, things like that. The company that I bought 12 years ago was Crow Canyon. And last year we purchased Golden Rabbit, which I would say is the other known Enamelware company in the industry. Peggy had been running that for 35 years. And so she was looking to retire. It was something that they were our competitor, but they were stronger in different areas that we weren't. They're stronger on the East Coast, kind of in the Southeast. They have a little bit more of a traditional look and feel. They have some licenses like Peter Rabbit and Old Bay. They do a lot of things that have crabs and lobsters, things like that are coastal designs, whereas ours is a little bit more casual. And I would say we do pretty well more on the West Coast, but also in New York and New England and things like that. And so when I saw that she was going to retire, it was just, I knew that I wanted to have it. So, we were able to purchase it and merge with all their employees and everything into one company. So now, hopefully, we are sort of the one-stop shop for all Enamelware.
Wow, I love the fact that you were able to buy the biggest competitor. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But also in looking at the catalog too, they are very different looking. I mean, I bought for my client the splatterware enamel, which I think is so fresh and so new. But Enamelware's been around forever, right? Is that reason why these owners have been doing this for so long? Because I think I have the Peter Rabbit set from like when I was a kid. If I'm right.
It could be. The Enamelware in general has been around for hundreds of years because it is so lightweight and you can cook in it, and people have been using it in the oven, on the stove, everything. I mean, for over 100 years. So the material has been around. I would say it has definitely had a resurgence in the last, luckily. Since I've bought the business, it has been on trend. It is great. It's very retro. It's, but it's also very useful. It's really just a material like plastic, paper, porcelain, anything like that. But it's, I would find it a lot more useful. A lot of people like to use it instead of plastic and paper for outside. Which is really great because you can just throw it in your bag and bring it to a picnic or to the beach, something like that. But yeah, it's been around for a long time, but I would like to think that we've kind of brought it back to the forefront.
You also have spearheaded a lot of creative partnerships, and I'm sort of obsessed with the Goop partnership and Williams-Sonoma. So talk a little bit about like how long into buying it, and then was there a revamping process first of bringing some of the product up to scale and then going out after some of these partnerships? How does that look?
Yeah, I think for the first probably 2 years, we were working really hard on revamping it. We added some splatter. You were talking about the splatter. We are the originator of the classic splatter design on Enamelware. And the company did have a few colors. We added some colors to bring it to be a little bit fresher. And then, like I said, the photography, the branding. But to be on these collaborations that we've done collaborations with artists and brands and retailers. And this has been a really key part of our growth because it's really gotten our name out there. And I would say more than half of them came to us. So like I said, enamelware has become a lot more popular. So when people are looking for enamelware in their line, then often we do come up. So we did collaboration with a special splatter color with Williams-Sonoma a few summers ago. We work with Goop, but we also do, you're from California, Jenny Kane, we did a collaboration with, but we have ongoing with Pendleton, Filson on the East Coast, Fish's Eddy, and then some great designers like Lisa Congdon, Poketo. So it's been great, and we have some really exciting ones coming up next year too.
And I was with Anthropology for 8 years. You have partnerships with Anthropology as well, which I love. I mean, the Lisa Condren partnership, I love her artwork. Like it, and I was looking at the tiger print that she did. It's so good. So I think one of my questions is that you didn't come out of gift, and you knew on the IT side and the marketing side. So how do you, from not being in gift or tabletop, how do you take a line that's established and how do you now push it forward? Did you bring on other designers to help you, or is this all just instinct?
We did not bring in we still don't have any designers. So I would say the first, the new product department was myself just saying, let's do it in gray, that's it. And so that's actually why we do these partnerships, because it's a way to bring in fresh designs and ideas. I think we're still a really small company. So now with Golden Rabbit, we're a total of 15 people. So, and that includes, people in our warehouse and, all that kind of stuff. So I think that is a common misconception. I mean, Golden Rabbit, 3 of their employees came, and there was only 3. Besides the owner. And so we're very small. So we're still very scrappy. All of our design is done just by us coming up with ideas and kind of voting on them and getting samples done and things like that. But yeah, it definitely new products. A lot of the new lines are collaborations, or they're just extensions of the splatter that we have. We actually came out with a brand new kind of like more modern splatter, which is 3 colors. It's a little less splattery. The Catalina. And, it's just me looking at all the colors and asking the factory to do a bunch of samples, and then us kind of voting on which ones we like the best. So.
Oh my God, I love it. What is your favorite part about working with some of these retailers? And because it's also international retailers as well. I think Mercy,
yes.
Labor and Weight, the Anthro International Division. How do you like that? And what is some of the high points of it?
Well, you're right. Actually, about almost 50% of our business is international. So, and again, that sort of, those were people looking for enamelware and that found us, or they saw our enamelware in another store and then contacted us. But I love this business. Being in the medical side of things was horrible. We had to deal with insurance and insurance companies, and it was not fun. I find this so fun, and I didn't realize I knew what enamelware was, but I didn't really know what enamelware was before I bought the business. And I am like the biggest fan. When we moved overseas, I had to bring so much enamelware with me because I realized right away in my kitchen I needed it. And, I love it. My friends love it. My family loves it. And it's super exciting to own a business that you just love the product so much that you use it every day, but so do all of your friends. I give some to my friends or my family, and they want to order more constantly. And so I'm just super passionate about our product. And so that, number one, makes it really fun. And I would not say that I'm a creative person, but I think business and small business is my creative outlet. But for sure, coming up with designs that are popular it's just so exciting. And like I said before, I love working at trade shows. I love being able to talk to the retailers that come in. Again, educating them on Enamelware, but if they know what it is, seeing their excitement about the different products and particularly seeing them in person. Our product, if you don't know what Enamelware is, it's hard to explain it. So that's why holding a giant bowl and it being super light, but being like, oh, it's metal. Like that is, that's why I love to do things in person. And that's why we really, having strong partnerships with retailers. We do sell online, but having our product in retailers is so key.
Well, I think because my business is I'm a merchandiser. That's when I was with Anthropology. I led the team at the Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade store, and merchandising is all about storytelling. And what, to me, the quintessential camp mug is the tin, the Enamelware mug. But when it comes to storytelling, when you said Pendleton is doing it, like I can't think of a better storytelling opportunity, because right now, as far as like gift trend and what is happening for, this year for both men's and for just as a summer concept, I was merchandising concepts is camp, which I think is so cute. So your product would obviously lend itself to that, but I love that Pendleton has brought you up because it, like I said, it's like the quintessential camp item. And it's the fact that it can go to oven is mind blowing, because I forget what piece of yours I have myself. And I know everyone has said it's oven, but I was always afraid to put it in the oven. And now it's like my favorite thing to do anything like roast vegetables and whatnot in the oven, because it cleans up so easy. And I was so afraid of putting it in there that it took probably a year of owning it till I actually put it in the oven.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't know it can go in the oven. We have this big rectangle tray, and I have like 5 of them because I use it for, cookie sheet, roasting vegetables, all of that, but also it's a really pretty tray. And it's one of the biggest pluses is it's the oven to table.
So you touched a little bit on when we were off the call that when you first went to the trade shows, you were actually next to Nora and her brother. So because obviously, again, like you didn't come out of the gift industry and you're now deciding to take the road on the show or show on the road. What did that look like? Because it's always amazing to me that somebody that hasn't done a trade show, if you sign up for a temp or whether it's a rep group, but temps especially, it's like challenging. It's like, how did that look and how did you handle your first trade show?
So I had been told, I think probably by the previous owners, that Atlanta was the biggest trade show for our industry. And we hadn't shown there, I guess the company hadn't shown there in years. And so I just decided I went the first year with my mom and we walked around and I was just blown away about how humongous it was. I mean, that like America Smart is insane. And then, but we did see, lots of people there. And so the next year we did a temp booth. And again, I had my parents help me. And it was great. Again, I was around a bunch of different vendors. Some of them were pretty old school, telling me what it used to be like and, giving me some pointers. And it was just a great way whenever it's a little bit slow to get, information about the industry. But that show was really great for us. That's where we got Fish's Eddie and the owner of Fish's Eddie was walking around with her. That is a pretty iconic store in New York City. And she was walking around with her mom and I was there with my mom. And, we started a conversation and she was telling me that she was just looking for she was looking for the Enamelware for her store. And it was really great. Now we have a showroom, which we had a small showroom for Crow Canyon for a while. But once we purchased Golden Rabbit has had a showroom in Atlanta for years. Like I said, that's their biggest area is the Southeast. So this year we made the showroom into both brands, and that was pretty exciting. And we been to a lot of the shows. And so we did the houseware shows for a while. We often do Shop Object in New York. Like we're in showrooms in Dallas and in Las Vegas with rep groups. But it took a while. We just kind of trial and error to different trade shows. We also we used to do Maison Objet and Ambiente, and we're going to do that again this fall.
In Paris.
We stopped doing it. Yeah, in Paris. So we are opening up our own distribution in Europe, in the EU. We've gotten a lot. We have I mentioned before, we do a lot of international business, and we usually have distributors in different countries, but it's been a little bit difficult to find distributors for every country in the EU. So we've decided to open our own warehouse there. So that's going to be launched this fall.
How, when you approached your booth design the first time, and now as you're approaching the booth design for Paris, how are you approaching that leg of it?
Yeah. So, the design for our original booths and showrooms were all done by myself and the marketing director we used to have. So it was scrappy. We're not designers. I just knew, how I wanted to show things for the different shows. Now that we'll go to Paris, and honestly, the Paris was just like IKEA and everything, because we didn't want to pay for it to come back and forth. So we just kind of set something up. But now we do have a contact with a designer that works at the America's Mart that has done some work for the Golden Rabbit showroom, and he is going to help me design something that we can use over and over for Paris. But still, all of the other ones, when we do Shop Object and stuff like that, it's really just us putting together some furniture. It's really, we have so many products. I do have a strong feeling about when I'm in the booth and I keep moving things around, and, I know how I want to present it, and I know what kind of props I want there and everything, but it's really just like my feeling. I have to be in there for a few hours working it out.
Well, because we have a million retailers listening to this, so I have to ask you, what does the feeling to you feel like, and what are your props, and what are some of the, for those who carry your line that want to hear about how you merchandise it?
Mm-hmm. So because we have the regular splatter, and then we have the Catalina, and there's so many different colors, and it can get really overwhelming. And I think a lot of people are worried about just looking crazy, and it can look totally crazy and unorganized because there's so many patterns. So usually someone chooses first, okay, I think I want to do the splatter. We also have what we call the vintage line, which is white with a rim. That's a very classic look. That is very easily mixed in with the splatter. I know that although the splatters are really popular now, when I first bought the business, a lot of people were really scared of it. It was too overwhelming. And maybe they would but I would encourage them to have one or two pieces, because you don't realize that one bowl, though, is pretty cool. I understand having your whole kitchen in splatter could be super overwhelming, but one splatter bowl or tray is very cool. And so usually they will first say, okay, we're going to do the splatter, or we're going to do the Catalina. And then I encourage them to do more, usually 3 colors. You think, oh, is it going to be too overwhelming to have 3 different colors? It isn't. It actually looks very cool. You could start with red, blue, black, turquoise, something like that. And they all look very cool together. And then, there's some certain staples like mugs, cups, small bowls. But we also like to encourage, we've got some really amazing statement pieces, like a beverage dispenser, which is really great. And you only have to buy one. Or we have these giant bowls that go on a stand that you can put ice in and drinks. Things like that. We usually try to encourage 1 or 2 of those just to kind of create the display and really anchor the display. But we do have kind of bestsellers. It depends. Also, the Catalina line that we were talking about that has the 3 colors, that's a little bit more modern. It's usually a different kind of store. You're more of the expert in retailers, but we don't just have kitchen stores and mercantiles. We do have what I kind of call like a millennial gift lifestyle stores. We have a lot of those that sell candles and books and cool stuff, but they'll also sell our, Catalina tumblers and small bowls and small trays because, they're also really great for apartments. We find a lot of, I'm a solid Gen Xer, but I find that a lot of the younger people, want, they're their houses are very curated and their apartments are very curated and just having a few really nice things. And so we do sell a lot of our cups and small bowls to this younger generation. And we find that that's a great outlet for us as well.
I mean, I don't think, it's funny because I think of tabletop. I don't really think of it always having to be in kitchen stores. Because I think honestly, those only kitchen stores, the sur la table, whatnot, I think those are kind of going out. I mean, now everything is a curated lifestyle store where you can go in and all that. So I think your line is perfect for that. I mean, but it can sit in the tabletop stores, but I certainly don't think of it as like, it only needs to be in there. I love it in gift stores because I think it merges well with like other products. You kind of touched on how you moved internationally. And when we talked, I was asking you about the room that you're in because people are watching it on YouTube as well. Talk a little bit about how and when you decided to do this international move and how did it affect running your business? Is it the business office still in San Francisco or is it now where you are?
So before COVID, we actually had closed our office and became a virtual company. I do have an office in Marin, so outside of San Francisco, and that's just in my old town where I just moved from, and that's just to keep our samples. I use it when I go back. We have another employee that works there. But luckily, we were already set up virtually. One of the reasons we did that is because we were in San Francisco, and it just became difficult to find people to work at our company. San Francisco, if you want to usually people want to work for, internet companies, Twitter, Facebook, all that. If they want to work in housewares, Williams-Sonoma's there, so we had a hard time finding people who wanted to, work in the office and things like that. I wanted to start hiring some people that had worked with me at my family's company previously. Again, not from the gift industry, but I felt like we could train any good people to work for us. So we put everything in the cloud. Our phones, obviously our software was already in the cloud. Our warehouse was and still is in the Bay Area, like in the Oakland area. So that still stayed, but we all moved and we're working from home. And then after COVID, I have 2 teenagers. Things were I just felt like we needed to get out of Dodge. And I actually grew up in Hong Kong and Japan. So moving overseas was not at all weird for me. I knew how to do it. I knew it was possible. I knew it was, the kids were going to be fine. My sister and her family live in Indonesia. They live in Jakarta and they've lived there forever. And we've been coming out with the family. So we decided to move to Bali 2 years ago. And luckily, Golden Rabbit is actually made in Indonesia. So it's a half an hour flight. It's a different island, but it's very, very close. And so I can go to the factory for the day. Actually, I fly there in the morning and then they come back at night. So that has been a huge help. And I do a lot with new product development and working with the factories. So being in Asia is actually a plus. I do still have meetings in America. So I work sometimes this time of year. I get up at 4:30, 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And I have my meetings very, very early in the morning. But to be honest, now that I'm used to it, I have the whole day free, the second half of the day. So I can really, enjoy Bali, during that time.
I think every single retailer listening to this right now is dying that you're living in Bali, because that is like the dream of being able to move international or anywhere that you really want to live and have a life and also run your business. What a beautiful, I mean, I can't even imagine what your life looks like after you're done with your day. I mean, it's so beautiful. And like, talk a little bit about what does your day look like after you wrap up your day for work?
So I kind of live in a pretty hectic part of Bali. I think, so COVID and then after, Bali has become a really big, a popular place for digital nomads. So there's a lot of 20 and 30-year-old people from all over the world. Very few Americans, but a lot of Europeans, a lot of Australians that live here. Wow. So it is, and we live near the school, so it's kind of in a very hectic area. So there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of dance clubs. It's kind of, I think people don't really realize, they think of maybe just rice paddies and surfing and stuff like that. And there is that. But that's not, I live near one of the most famous surfing areas, but there's a lot of construction too. But it is, the lifestyle here is a lot about, self-care and wellness. So, and it's very, very affordable. One of the reasons that we moved away from California to move here is for just a better, quality of life.
Yes.
And so, I can get a massage or get my nails done for 10% of the price of California. And you can do all of that kind of stuff, I play paddle, which is this really big sport in Europe that really hasn't taken off in America. But I do that. You can work out, you could do yoga, you can people go surfing. You go to the beach to watch sunset. That's a big deal.
Yes.
So yeah, it's the sunset is a real thing here, and it's the whole beach fills up. Everybody sits on bean bags with cocktails or whatever.
Right. Sounds dreamy.
Yeah. So it is definitely. I drive a scooter because the traffic is really crazy here. And so everybody drives scooters. I never, ever thought I would do that, but it's actually pretty fun. And a lot of great restaurants from all over the world. And so it's been a great experience because also my kids, I wanted them, we traveled a lot before COVID, which is one of the reasons that once we couldn't travel, that really was making me, a little bit crazy for not being able to travel. So moving overseas, the kids are friends with their friends are from all over the world. And that's what I loved about my growing up. And that's what I wanted for them. And they're really living their best life. They have a lot of freedom here. They've, like I said, friends from all over the world. They can get around. Whereas I was just driving them around everywhere in California. And now, they're both looking, my son is graduating actually on Friday. And he is looking to go to college in Europe because he's just not ready to go back to the States yet because his friends are from Europe. And so it's really, been a great experience for the whole family.
I mean, what an incredible gift to your kids to have that kind of lifestyle and to open their eyes to what the rest of the world is like. Because I think, I lived in California. I was born and raised in the South Bay, Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach. And we just moved up to Oregon in February. And we always used to say where we lived was like living in a bubble, like nothing else existed. You really never got to know very much about the rest of the world because you were always in this stupid bubble. Everything had to do with, the beach and, the area. And it's like, I can't even imagine what a gift to your kids to be out of California and living a place like that where everyone is from so many different parts of the world and being able to culturally just to have a different life and see what life is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been great. This is also a very entrepreneurial place. So a great thing about Bali is there's so much inspiration here. So many things are made here. Furniture, jewelry, and all by hand, all really high quality, really cool designs. And a lot of people that live, it's a little bit different than how I grew up in Hong Kong and Japan, which that expat life, my parents and all the other parents worked for IBM and banks and big corporations, where here a lot of the parents either work from home like I do and they have businesses virtually, or they own these businesses that make clothes and bags and jewelry. And my son's been inspired to start his own jewelry company with his friends. But we're constantly, you can see all the other options that you have as a young person.
Wow.
To live around the world, but also to, start your own businesses.
Was it because I always like try and get in behind questions that no one gets to ever hear. Is like, when you first moved there, was there a bit of adjustment? Like, I mean, even here in Oregon, like I said to my husband, I still don't feel like I feel like we're living in an Airbnb. Like, I don't feel like this is our house. And was there adjustment, or did you just, because you've lived internationally, did you just put your feet in the ground? It was like, just take it all in and this is life, and or was there an adjustment of like, not why did we do this, but like, this is really our home?
Well, yeah, I would say that I still act like I'm on vacation. That's hard to get out. It's hard to get out of vacation mode when you live here.
Yeah.
And, we do live in a rental house. I was lucky enough to have some of my friends from high school that live here. So I didn't have to completely start fresh as far as friends. And some of them have teenagers. So they were able to tell us about, the school and kind of give my kids some insight. The good thing for the kids is that international schools, people are coming and going. It's a lot more welcoming than when you move in the US. And people have been at the same school their whole life. So that was, I had to convince my kids that was the case before we moved. They obviously didn't, they were a little bit nervous about moving in high school, but they made friends immediately, and that was, they were off and running. Honestly, as a mom, like when the kids are happy, like that just took a whole load off from me. And so then it was like, what am I going to do with my time? Like, I'm working, but I did find myself working all the time. And the good thing is I could bring my computer and work like at a restaurant on the beach. And so that's nice. But it took me a little while because I was working at 5:00 in the morning, to stop working at like 2 or whatever and just get out there. But honestly, I do still feel like I'm on vacation. So, well, it was like, let's get into a routine. So it is hard to get into a routine and cook at home and, not go to sunset drinks, stuff like that.
I think I would be happily living there and living vacation every day as long as I was getting work. It's a little different in Oregon. Doesn't really feel like vacation. It doesn't feel like home yet. And I keep wondering, like, there's very few people I know that have picked up and moved where we've all grown up, and then like, let alone international, but moved away. And it's like, when does it start feeling like home? It's the weirdest feeling, and I'm not used to, and I'm still traveling. I still have to travel back to the shows and to my retailers in California. So I still get a little bit of taste, but I wanted to ask that because it's like, it's one of those things I'm still asking people I know, like, well, when does it feel like home?
I mean, I've traveled a lot, and then we've lived a lot of places, even my family. My husband's from California, but we lived there for 10 years. But before that, we lived in Florida, and I've lived in New York, Boston. So we do move a lot. And my parents live in Hawaii. That's where I was born. And so I guess that's, we don't really I have a lot of amazing friends in California, but we don't have family there. And so I think that's also made it easier. My sister is closer to me now than she ever has been.
That's fantastic. I always ask people a couple of questions at the very end. One is, because you're creative, where do you find inspiration? I mean, outside of where you live, but where do you find inspiration?
I think for tabletop and for, I follow, honestly, I just follow a lot of accounts on Instagram, reading all the magazines like Domino, going overseas, particularly in Europe, following a lot of trends in Europe. So, and it's not as, I think, I'm just like, oh, green is trending. We're doing something in green. So it's not so scientific at all. I think I do a lot of just following different brands, different companies, different influencers and designers. I follow a lot of interior designers, and a lot of it is really just what I like and what I'm gravitating towards. I do think Europe is a big place for inspiration, as opposed to, I think a lot of the trends start there first. When it comes to our business or my business, I guess. And again, it's usually has to do with like color trends and things like that.
Do you purchase because I know Paris has a lot of fashion houses that put out publications that are the trend forecasting. I mean, it's like, what I've always said to people when I work with them is like, fashion is always the first one to put the trend out, and then you'll see it dribble down into GIF, like, the big blue and white tie-dye Indo, but those patterns like all started with apparel and then they kind of trickled down. And I think it's Paris that puts out the big fashion publication where it forecasts out, like they're forecasting out like 2 years out. Do you follow any of those? And then you'd mentioned Domino. What are some of your favorite trade magazines, European or American? I find them European way more inspiring, but I collect all of them.
So, well, I will now look for that, but I don't have that large trend report. I think if I've ever seen it, it would be just bits and pieces of it on the internet. I think really I'm just reading a lot, the business of home, and I read a lot of different blogs and things, and just kind of like go down the rabbit hole of on social media and on just different web pages, honestly. Domino is just, before I owned this, I loved Domino, and I'm more of like a boho, colorful decorator. And so that's why my stuff, like this is my cup, that's why I love, color. I love, patterns and things like that, which is luckily it's pretty popular right now. So I don't think any particular magazines or publications.
I always throw
in Europe
with that. That's one question maybe I should throw to people beforehand. With the show, this episode is sponsored by Kina, who is your rep in Las Vegas. What other districts does Kina rep your line in?
So the whole West Coast and the Rockies. So Pacific Northwest, all the way down to Arizona, and then out to the Rockies, like Idaho and Montana.
They do such a phenomenal job. And Christy who's my rep, who I absolutely adore, who actually, it was funny because I had written the 3 different colors, splatter, and she had texted me or emailed me and said, I just want to make sure you're pulling the right colors, because it doesn't go back to, I curate in groups, and much like my time in anthropology, when I'm out buying, like I buy certain things and I kind of piecemeal things together to create one big collection. And she was like, are you sure those are the colors? I'm like, yes. And I paired them back with, I forget what it was. It was like, I think chocolate dip pretzels, and the packaging, the coloring went right back to your product. And she came in, she saw it, and she goes, okay, I know exactly why you love these. But it's like, the line is so fantastic. And I'm so glad that you're at Kina, because it's some of my favorite reps, and it sounds like they do a phenomenal job. So this episode is going to come out right before the July show. So everyone that's listening, that's coming to the Las Vegas show, will be able to come and seek you out. Are there any new introductions or anything that you're excited that you want to tell everyone about before we go into the show season?
So the main thing, and this is really just for the Southeast, is we are doing licensing with collegiate licensing. So for the Southeast, and we are in Dara in Atlanta, and then we also have our own our own showroom. So we have plates and mugs and stuff for colleges such as Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, because our stuff is just amazing for outside and tailgating. And if I lived in Florida for 7 years, people love their college sports there.
Oh my gosh.
Every Saturday, they will head to toe, flags, cups, clothes, the whole thing. So we thought it was like a natural extension of our line to launch a collegiate. And we, of course, also have some Christmas stuff. We do have one collaboration that's coming out for the fall, which is pretty exciting for us. There is a designer brand called Studio Tigress, and the owner of that actually used to be the CEO president of Schoolhouse Electric.
Okay.
And they sold to Food 52, and now she has her own. And so we have some really adorable plates coming out that she designed. And so we'll be showing those at the show.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see. I am so grateful for you coming on and talking about your line. It's fascinating. I mean, your life sounds amazing. I'm so envious right now of you being
Thank you.
Do you want to put down any of your social media or any of your handles and your Instagram and whatnot? And we'll make sure they are in the show notes as well. But just for those who are listening.
Sure. It's pretty easy. All of our social media, Instagram, Facebook is at Crow Canyon Home. And our website is crowcanyonhome.com. So that's where we are. I mean, I think we're most active on Instagram out of all the social media. We haven't gotten on TikTok or anything yet, but that's coming.
It's the whole thing. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you.